Everyone, it's Alex again. So, I'm doing another little vlog about the barriers to getting good mental health treatment and staying in good mental health treatment. Today's topic is time. Okay, so I sometimes hear from people, oh, yeah, I'll definitely go to therapy, but I just don't have time right now, right? Or, oh, yeah, I'm just so busy and stressed out that I can't find the time. So, this can be a barrier. I know that people's lives are super busy sometimes these days, and you have, a stressful job, or maybe you have a family and kids, or maybe you're a single parent and you can't, get somebody to mind your kids so you can go to a regular counseling appointment. All these sorts of things can really get in the way, and it can all just, I guess, end up feeling too hard. So, what I generally say about this is, you know, we need to think about prioritizing good mental health the same way that we would prioritize, physical health issues. So if I was experiencing a problem with my heart, right, like I had chest pain a lot, or, my heartbeat was super irregular, or there was, wasn't able to kind of do the kind of exercise I normally would, I would probably make it a priority to go and see a doctor about that, right? It would not be the sort of, well, I'll do it in 5 years if I have time. I'd probably say, well, it's probably needs to be higher on my priority list, and I need to do it sooner rather than later, because potentially otherwise this problem gets worse. And if there is something more serious going on and I don't get treatment for that, or I don't address that, guess what? It's going to get worse and worse, and it gets harder to treat at a certain point. The same applies with our brain, okay? The same applies with mental health. It's really interesting if you look at the stats around, people accessing mental health treatment. With anxiety, for example, which is probably the most common mental health presentation I see, and I think most therapists would say the same. Um, you know, Somebody with anxiety symptoms, the research says that they're likely to suffer with those symptoms for approximately 5 to 7 years before they get treatment for their anxiety. All right, that's 5 to 7 years of living with anxiety, which is super treatable. The problem is, the longer people go without treating their anxiety, what happens? When they do get into treatment, it's much harder to treat. Right? If you give me a 16-year-old who's been having anxiety for the last 6 or 12 months, easy, we got that sorted, right? They'll be good within, a few months. If you're a 50-year-old and you come and see me and you've had untreated anxiety for the past 30 years, it's going to be much slower to improve, and it's going to be much harder to treat, because what happens is we get in these, we self-manage, right? And we self-medicate in different ways. So people start to engage in avoidance behaviors, which work in the short term. It allows them to sort of keep functioning day to day, but it actually makes the underlying problem way worse. So then when we take away the avoidance, or we try to, we've got this really, really, really big problem that's really hard to treat. Early intervention is key, and all the research says that, right? It's the same with physical health. Don't wait till you're having a heart attack. If you notice that there's something going on with your heart, go and see somebody about it. And if your doctor says go and see a cardiologist, then you go and see a cardiologist. And you might have to take the day off work to do that, right? Or you might have to leave work early, or you might have to negotiate something with your boss where if you need to see your cardiologist every fortnight, that, you make that happen. So, we need to approach mental health in the same way. We need to make it a priority so that it doesn't get worse. I think all the stigma around mental health makes it really hard. And, if getting time off work is a problem, I really empathize, because I don't always recommend that you share your mental health stuff with your boss. Now, if you have a really great boss who's super supportive and, you've got a good relationship, by all means, have a confidential chat with them and say, look, I've started seeing a counselor, but, I need to take time off work to do that. I've got appointments every second Tuesday. How can I have some flexi hours? Can I work some time in lieu? Could we make it work so that I can go to those appointments? If you have a great boss and a great relationship with your boss, then they'll work with you to make that happen. It's in their interest too, because they need an employee who is feeling really well, right? They don't need an employee who's going to go off on stress leave. So they're going to want to work with you. But if you don't have a great relationship with your boss, or if you're a bit worried about maybe they'll judge you, or if you're not sure, be careful. It's not always a good idea to share your mental health history with your boss, because, there is stigma around mental health stuff. There just is. So if you're worried about that, I would suggest that maybe you, make it about something else. Say, oh, look, I've got this physical health thing going on and I need to go to these regular appointments, and can I have some flexi hours? Or, I've got, an issue in my family that I need to attend to. Can I take some, some of my sick leave to do this? Or can I, what can I do? So, 100% transparency is not always the way to go. Just be really careful with that. I do know people who have disclosed mental health stuff to their boss and found that they actually become really scrutinized from that point onwards. So just be really careful with that. Some people are like, well, I have a legal obligation to. You don't, right? So you don't have a legal obligation to disclose any health condition to your employer unless that condition has a significant impact on, your ability to do the job or anything like that. Okay. If you're not sure, chat with your union or chat with, somebody confidentially about that if you're not sure what to do, but just proceed with caution. So we need to make it a priority, and we need to understand that getting in early is way better than trying to kind of fix things when it's all really started to unravel. If we ignore our mental health, if we don't make it a priority, sometimes what will happen is that things will escalate, and we'll get to the point where maybe we're struggling to get to work, right? Or maybe we're struggling to take care of our kids, or maybe we're struggling to have good relationships with our family, right? And so all that time we've saved not going to therapy has actually been counterproductive. So make it a priority. That's really my urge to you. Make it a really essential part of what you need to do to have the life that you want to have. And don't just suffer with symptoms that, are probably really, really treatable. Okay. As always, if you have any questions about this, drop me a line, chat with me on my website, or send me a message. I hope that's helpful today. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.